I'm Madeline Bizzo.
And I'm Felicia Chandler.
And welcome to a special edition of The Signal. The year is almost over, and we're bringing you our final audio projects from our third-year journalism course at the University of King's College in Halifax.
Coming up, we'll have stories from around Halifax about people following their dreams or celebrating culture in new ways. But first, we look at glasses and what we pour into them.
Our first story is about a young man in a very old craft. Luke Peters is a glassblower. He makes fine crystal at Nova Scotian Crystal in Halifax.
He is their youngest craftsman, part of a new generation in more ways than one. Carla Rennick spent some time in the workshop.
Luke Peters pulls a piece of molten glass out of the fire pit at Nova Scotian Crystal. He's 26, and he's been working here for almost 6 years. Long enough to be a craftsman, but still away from master.
It really is a commitment, it's something that you really have to, you're either in it or you're not. So you learn very quickly, is this something I see myself doing for 10 years plus?
20 years ago, Nova Scotian Crystal brought its first craftsman over from Ireland, the home of Waterford Crystal. Peters is from a new generation and a different world. He didn't know much about crystal when he started.
You can imagine 20 years old, not really paying attention to the world of crystal very much. It's a very high-end product.
Peters and his co-workers make glasses, vases, lamps, and presentation pieces, using methods that go back to the 17th century. They're expensive, but people take time to build their collections. People like Lissa Clack. She's been collecting Christmas ornaments for 15 years.
I think it's really beautiful. It's also very special to me because it's from Nova Scotia.
As it happens, Peters is making ornaments right now. It can take up to 10 days to finish a set, but is it worth it?
You're just getting burnt and you're sweating, and the glass isn't cooperating, and it's just like, this isn't working, why am I doing this to myself? But then there's days where it's like, you know what, this is actually really cool.
For The Signal, I'm Carla Rennick.
Those glasses may be beautiful, but what's in them matters too. You may think organic is as pure as foods can get, but in the wine industry, natural wine is at a whole other level.
It can be a bit hard to define, but basically, all the ingredients in a natural wine have to come from the same vineyard, right down to the yeasts and bacteria that can shape a wine's flavor. Kate Woods has the story of a researcher at St. Mary's who is working to identify these tiny elements to help make more consistent wines.
Luke Peters pulls a piece. Brandon Logan works in a lab that is so clean, not even a pen can touch the tables without being wiped down. In more than 100 petri dishes, there are yeast, bacteria, and fungi from Nova Scotia vineyards.
The bacterial strains, microbial strains that I've got are from Blackadee vineyards as well as other vineyards in the area of the Gaspereau and Annapolis Valley of Nova Scotia.
Yeast occurs naturally on grapes. Logan's research aims to find out which yeasts produce which flavors in organic wine. Yeasts are one of the most important ingredients in winemaking because they're one of the key elements that go into determining their flavor and smell. So knowing the qualities of local yeasts is kind of a big deal, making the process more predictable and reliable for local organic winemakers.
I don't think you're going to find this combination in other wines anywhere else. But that's the big thing about it, is that wine is a product of its regional growth.
As with other kinds of food and drink, natural organic wines are getting more popular. Leslie Quinn is a wine specialist from the NSLC. She says the wine world is trying to be more sustainable as well as moving into more organic wine.
I'd say every day now I get at least one person in saying, where's your organic wines? And I would say that even the subset of natural wine is becoming even more popular as well.
So while a lab may not seem like the natural environment, Logan's work will help to make more reliable natural organic wines in Nova Scotia. For The Signal, I'm Kate Woods.
Nova Scotia's craft beer scene is flourishing. There are more than 50 craft breweries in Nova Scotia, but women are only doing a fraction of the brewing. Kelly Costello of Good Robot Brewing Company is out to change that. Lucia Helder has more.
In Good Robot's brewhouse, there's a smell of hot, wet cereal. That's the smell of beer being made. Today, Kelly Costello and her co-worker are using flaked corn to brew 3 large batches of beer. The giant stainless steel kettle looks like an overgrown bowl of cereal. That's just part of her daily job. She's also preparing for her upcoming beer festival that invites women into the craft beer industry.
I host a femme brew competition, only for women, and women identifying folk. And I think that's the only one in the Maritimes, which is cool, but I wish it wasn't,
Last year, Costello started Fembot. It's an event that showcased small batches of beer made through Costello's community program, and it introduced women to the beer-making process. This year, she's expanded that idea. Costello sent out a wide invitation to breweries for what she calls a Brewster Fest to help more women get into brewing.
We're inviting not just those women who are already brewing, but breweries are invited to work with women that either are staff or the owners or social media folk. We've invited them to bring them into the brew house and bring that beer to the Brewster Fest.
16 breweries are participating in the festival, and half of those are owned by women. Costello wants everyone to try brewing, and if you don't have the equipment, she says you can borrow hers.
Brewing is super fun as a hobby and as a job. We can't all do it as a job, but I really recommend trying it as a hobby.
Costello's Brewster Fest will be taking place in late April. For The Signal, I'm Lucia Helder.
You're listening to a special edition of The Signal.
We're bringing you stories from our third-year reporting class at the University of King's College in Halifax, Nova Scotia.
If you search for art on Instagram, you'll get 485 million results. But art is not a numbers game. And one Halifax gallery owner thinks people need to experience art in person. Sam Gillett has the story.
Adriana Afford owns Argyle Fine Art in downtown Halifax. She's organizing interactive art events because she thinks people need to be with the art to really enjoy it.
When people are kind of interacting online, they might say, I'm going to this event. They might even follow a Facebook video. They feel as though they are already participating, but in reality, they're not actually there.
Afford hosts shows and discussions in her Barrington Street gallery that encourage people to engage with art in person. A recent show, called Repurposers, encouraged people to bring in household objects. Artists transformed old boomboxes and TVs into sculptures. While many think creating art is a private thing, some artists enjoy sharing their practices. Mary Garout is a Halifax oil painter. She enjoys talking about her painting practice.
The art gallery space serves as just a place of dialogue for people to just be reminded of what the human spirit's about, and that's what art is. And so I'm always really happy to go into a commercial or public space and I just get rejuvenated.
Afford's goal is to bring these artists together with everyday people.
There's this sort of this preconceived idea that galleries are sort of pretentious spaces and you have to buy something. But we're doing lots of workshops and life drawing sessions and stuff like that. So anything we can do to kind of make it a bit more accessible for a more diverse body of people.
This summer, Afford is helping organize a series of art talks across Halifax. For The Signal, I'm Sam Gillett.
This month, millions of Christians are observing Lent. It's when the faithful give something up as a personal sacrifice. Lent marks the 40 days before the Easter season, and as Madeline found out, there's a range of ways to observe it.
Lord, hear our prayer.
Father Paul Morris is a priest at St. Agnes Catholic Church. He has observed Lent throughout his life. This year, Morris is going to restaurants less often. The money he saves, he gives to charity. Morris says more of the Christians around him seem to be observant Lent. He's noticed that on a normal Friday Mass, there are about 20 people. During this Lent, it's more like 80.
Everything that happens in Lent is really so that on Easter Sunday, we can renew our baptismal promises with a kind of renewed intensity, a new hope.
But there's different ways to observe Lent. For San Jenna Daniel, Lent has become about taking on something rather than giving something up. Daniel is a campus minister for InterVarsity Christian Fellowship. She provides spiritual guidance and support at Halifax campuses. During her work with InterVarsity, she's noticed that Catholics, Anglicans, and so-called high Protestants observe Lent more often. Others, like Baptists and Pentecostals, observe it less. She also thinks that immigrants observe Christian traditions like Lent more than non-immigrants. She's seen this with her own Indian parents, Italian teachers, and Polish friends. Rather than giving something up, Daniel's Lent goal is to improve herself, which she does through yoga. She says it helps her to be honest with herself and God.
So the practice of Lent becomes far more than just a yearly habit of self-denial. It's facing the worst parts of yourself, and by the grace of God, choosing a new way of being.
The end of Lent varies across denominations, but it all leads to the celebration of Easter. This year, Easter is on April 21st. For The Signal, I'm Madeline Bizzo.
Pakistan Day is a national holiday, and in Pakistan, they mark it with parades and parties.
Recently, the community in Halifax held a local celebration, and it focused on more than just Pakistani history. Felicia went to find out more.
Modern Pakistani music echoes from stage speakers. Children laugh, and people from all over chat amongst themselves. These are the sounds of Pakistan Day. Here in Halifax, the event was in full swing, with music, games, and food. The Pakistani Association of Nova Scotia is hosting the event, making this their third one that they've held. Anila Najaf is the association's president.
This is a special one because this is the first time we are holding food as our main theme, and we strongly encourage the small vendors to come forward and set up their businesses so that we can help them to promote themselves.
The event offered authentic Pakistani jewelry, henna, and of course food. And it wasn't just Pakistani restaurants who came out to show off their dishes. Chico Rashida is a Jordanian who recently opened his own restaurant called Basha in downtown Halifax.
Our food is number one in our community. Usually we'll take care of food more than ourselves sometimes, you know what I mean? Like, make sure your plate is the way it should be, spices the way it should be, original spices, do not play with it.
Najaf says that this Pakistan celebration is not just about history. This celebration represents multiculturalism and how food can bring a community together.
There's so much to offer, so much to learn, especially for young kids and for the young generation of today, which is our need of the hour.
A lot of different people came out for the celebration to enjoy the food and fun, which Najaf says gives the association hope for next year. For The Signal, I'm Felicia Chandler.
In downtown Halifax, the K-pop bug is spreading. Dancers are following the songs and videos from the big Korean pop groups, and now they're able to learn the dances too. Chris Studley checked it out.
For 6 years, Iris Yin has been teaching herself how to dance to K-pop music. Now, she's teaching others at the House of 8's dance studio. K-pop is a pop music genre from South Korea. It started in the 90s, but it's really blown up in North America in the last few years. K-pop videos are all about the dancing, and the stars train like crazy to be perfect. Yen isn't trying to make anyone perfect. She just wants her students to have fun.
I think K-pop is a way to kind of like build your confidence in dancing. You don't need to be master at dance skills, but you can feel like, you know, who you are and just, you know, be more confident.
Maggie Rice was in the class. She caught the K-pop bug when she was teaching English in South Korea. She's just starting to learn how to dance, but she's still loving the K-pop classes.
It's a really great way of meeting people, and it's also a really great way of getting some cardio and just having that confidence when you do hear music to just take it upon yourself to start dancing.
Even the teacher finds confidence in dancing to K-pop music.
Everyone in the music videos and in the, you know, Korean groups, they're just, you know, so charming, and I want to be part of that too. When you're dancing K-pop, you kind of imagine you're the star. That's what I do, and I encourage everyone to do that.
Yin says she's planning to offer more classes like this one in the fall. For The Signal, I'm Chris Studley.
Well, that's it for us for now. And so, Madeline, are you excited about the workshops for next year here at King's?
I'm super excited. It'll be fun to see what the day-to-day life of a journalist is, and I'm super excited for the investigative workshop. They always do a great job. They're nominated for an Atlantic Journalism Award, so I'm going to be excited to join that. And any you're looking forward to?
Yeah, that investigative one sounds really interesting. Really excited for you as well. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the radio workshop.
Obviously.
Yeah, I'm really excited to work here with Mark and Pauline and really get to know the ins and outs of the radio. And yeah, I'm really excited for that.
Well, that's a wrap for us, but you can find more from the King's School of Journalism on our website, Signal hfx.ca, and our newsrooms will be back at full strength in the fall.
Thanks for listening.